So this week we're talking about piracy. We know that Pirate Bay was just shut down. Longest running piracy site of all time.
It's got to be
Shut
up there.
down.
I think they're going to come back.
Yeah.
This has happened before. They come back every time.
It's a slap on the wrist.
I think at least two of the founders have been in jail for like the past I don't know how many years, and they always come back. Rumor has it they're actually going to move their servers to the Caribbean, so they would be the pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, there's already sites hosting the archives, so you can still access everything that was there before they got taken down.
Was that ISO Hunt?
Yeah, ISO Hunt, as far as I'm aware.
2 years ago, the same thing happened to ISO Hunt.
Yep.
ISO Hunt was shut the fuck down, and then they're back online a couple months later.
Yep.
Kim.com, then they just, I think they're not going to charge him with anything.
People are going to steal movies and media, music, TV shows, no matter what you do. It doesn't matter. Oh, Pirate Bay gets shut down. ISO Hunt gets shut down. There's 50 other piracy sites out there. No matter what you do, people are going to be like, how can I get this stuff for free? And that's where we go to these media locker things and other sites to try and grab free media. Correct?
Yeah. There's if not the Pirate Bay, if not BitTorrent, it'll be something else.
Yeah.
I mean, something else is just going to keep coming up.
As soon as it's out there in the hemisphere of the internet, it's there for good. They're not.
Well, I mean,
be able to
as soon
put
as
it
you
away.
show it anywhere, it can be pirated.
Anything that can be brought to that point, like digital media, video, audio, at some point it's going to play through a screen or a speaker, and at that point it's completely vulnerable. Someone can record it, someone can videotape it, and then re-release it without whatever DRM or whatever they put in. There's nothing you can do to completely stop it.
I mean, when we have films like Guardians of the Galaxy and Avatar and like these huge movies that come out and still make billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know, like
they're.
I mean, clearly we're still making a lot of money, and we're making more money.
I guess here's the question then. As far as that, did the Expendables 3 make money?
No.
No.
Yeah, that is a good point. Cause
it was leaked early, and did people then not see it because they already saw it, or because they heard it sucked?
The fact that it came out on the BitTorrent sites 4 weeks before it was out at the theater,
in high quality,
in Blu-ray quality, with no timestamp or anything on it.
The film industry is going to jump all over something like that, saying like, "Oh, it didn't do well because people were pirating it."
This is the perfect case study for Hollywood to say,
but
"Hey, this really does hurt."
What about the rest of the movies that do very well?
Yeah,
you know,
and
they're
Guardians
still pirated.
Yeah,
Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm sure, was on one of the torrent sites the next day.
So I guess at that point, then it becomes a point of mitigation. If the government isn't going to stop it, and very well they shouldn't. That's a misconception, is that generally speaking, this isn't a crime. If you're downloading someone else's stuff, it's not criminal. It's a civil infraction on somebody else's copyright. You've infringed on their copyright. You ain't committing a crime. So the police can't come knock down your door and say, hey, you downloaded this movie, you're going to jail, because you actually haven't committed a crime at that point.
Are we sure about that, though? Because
absolutely.
It's not copyright infringement
It's copyright infringement. It's not criminal copyright infringement.
Oh,
copyright infringement means that whoever owns the copyright can sue you.
Okay.
If it's criminal copyright infringement, like Mega Upload, Kim.com, that was a big criminal copyright infringement case, because it was its dollar values, its number of times, the difference between one person downloading one video and someone hosting a website that shares millions of videos. That's the difference between criminal and regular. So that's the misconception there, is the criminality of it. So really, that's not really a concern. The police are not going to come to your house. That's a whole. I mean, does that system require complete reworking? Should it be like a traffic ticket?
Well, it all comes back down to the same thing. I've done quite a bit of research about this stuff. Realistically, an IP address is not a person.
It's true. That's a good point. If you're going to bring a suit against you, it's virtually impossible to prove that you personally did the downloading.
On to Annie. We were talking about the Expendables. Mm-hmm. Annie comes out this next Thursday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's already on the internet for everybody to see.
Because of the Sony leak.
Yeah, because of the Sony leak. How is this shitty version of Annie going to be affected?
Annie is, I think, an interesting case study for that, because you're talking about it's a family movie.
Right.
You're talking about, generally speaking, people who aren't your usual pirates. So that one, I think, if it does poorly, I think it was a poorly timed movie. It was a bad idea, and I think it'll have very little to do with it. But of course, if it does poorly, they're going to blame it on the league.
Just like the Expendables.
Just like the Expendables. And it's the thing is, statistics, correlation, causation, all those things, you can't prove what caused anything in this when there's that many different variables going into it.
Right.
So this conversation is kind of moot because it doesn't matter. They're going to spin it however they want to spin it. They're going to say that Annie didn't do well because it was leaked.
Do you think that the interview might have had something to do with the hack?
They're certainly make it sound that way.
There have been a lot of theories about that.
There's been a funny spin on it, but it sounds almost The Onion kind of like,
doesn't it?
Like Korean cyber terrorists have hacked Sony because of the interview. You know, it sounds really hokey. But
It sounds hokey to me too. I don't believe that for a second.
Have you ever seen pictures of Kim Jong-un on a computer? Like their computers they have there are like 1970s.
Oh, I know.
It's like Commodore 64.
Yeah, magnetic tape.
Green
discs,
screen.
like, oh,
5-inch floppy.
they're not connecting to anybody.
what are the solutions, if there are any, to solving the piracy issue?
Cost-effective alternatives. There are people who are pirating it because they say this movie is worth $0 to me at this time.
Right.
It's not worth the $20 it's going to take to go to the movie theater. It's on a DVD. It's not worth the $25 for a Blu-ray copy. So I'm going to download it for free. But with as popular as Netflix and Hulu are, I mean I think that's very telling that people are willing to pay something.
Absolutely, man.
And
Dude,
so,
I have Netflix. We have Hulu Plus. You know, it's like I watch my shows on Hulu when I can. You know, or the Amazon streaming.
Yeah, Amazon
it's
Instant.
all out there the same day.
Right.
Make it easier for us to get your stuff.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Game of Thrones is the big one. Game of Thrones was pirated just so much because there are people that don't have cable. And of the people that have cable, they don't want to pay for HBO.
Yeah.
And that's why I think we're seeing HBO talking about a streaming option. A monthly fee that's a lot cheaper than paying for cable to watch their shows because people are going to watch them
Dude,
anyways.
I would pay
Get
for
something.
that so fast.
Well,
Get
dude,
something out of
and the
us.
whole thing is you're going to pay $10 a month
Yeah.
Right.
for HBO instant streaming and not have to worry about somebody knocking down your door because you
Right.
downloaded.
Or having to worry,
Game
like
of
even
Thrones?
about like timing it right. You know,
Yeah,
I got to be home
yeah.
at this time to watch Game of Thrones, and then I'm not going to be able to talk about it with my friends the next day and all that. You know, like you can watch it right away. That's amazing.
It's convenience.
And then the other thing is like I know, Andrew, you get a lot of like foreign films and stuff like that, and they're not easy to get.
No, they're not.
They're not
from
easy to
They're
get.
not at all.
You know, because the studios don't think there's a market for it in North America most of the time.
Yeah, like I spent $60 on Hotel Inferno, which is still not in the U.S. yet. This German splatter movie that's supposed to be the first person splatter movie ever made, theoretically.
First
Right.
person.
Yeah, first person
Alright.
point of view.
That's right. But you
Yeah.
can't get those films. You know, they're not easily obtained.
Yeah.
And if they had a streaming service for that, I mean, maybe there isn't a streaming service because the market might be too niche for it.
But at the same time, look at the cost difference. The difference between producing, if you're talking about, especially if you're talking about a foreign language film, if you're talking about releasing, a different language, an English language version, you have to, print new covers, you have to print, actual discs, you have to make cases,
Domestic art.
ship them, domestic art, things because those things don't always work the same way.
Exactly.
I mean, you look at like the cover of any Japanese game versus the American equivalent. There's always a little bit different. Kirby's always angrier in America.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
There was
And that's the thing, though. See how much you could save. I mean, really, they have the digital versions, and I'm sure they have the storage. I mean, Microsoft is literally giving away cloud storage at this point. Like, just the cloud is a thing. It's going to happen.
Well,
so let's
it's
make
just
use
there.
of it. Yeah, it's just
in the
there.
era of YouTube, a lot of movies that have become either public domain or have never been released officially have somehow just appeared on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like with Nothing Lasts Forever, this movie that Lorne Michaels produced with Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. Major movie, and it's never been released on video or DVD of any kind, but it just appeared one day on YouTube. And while you could make the argument about piracy is, a monetary detriment or damaging to the industry, how else are you going to see this movie? That's your only
Right.
option right
Yeah,
there.
just give us options.
Or you get films that are only released in New York and LA. You can't see them.
Oh, dude, like The Pyramid.
Right.
The
For,
Pyramid, I
Inherent
saw it last
Vice.
night. It's not this great movie or anything, but it was in limited release, and then it goes to an expanded release. How much do you want to bet that there is probably a high quality, high resolution great audio
Right.
version of it out there because somebody saw it in limited release last week. Like,
Right.
oh,
Or somebody got their hands on it somewhere.
yeah, exactly. So,
You don't pay these kids enough money to not do it.
Right.
Srđan Spojović of the Serbian film said he wasn't happy that it was being pirated, but he was glad that that was the only way people could see it for a long time.
it got it out there so people could see
Right.
it.
Yeah, it gets people talking about it.
The Nine Inch Nails videos, Closure, and
Sure.
the Broken movie, for years they were trying to sort out all the legal issues with them. They could never come to an agreement, so one day Trent Reznor just leaked both of them on the internet.
A lot of these people don't want their stuff getting out there like
Yeah.
that.
He
But,
even prefaced it on his site saying, "Merry Christmas, this one's on me."
yeah.
We have to accept that no matter how much we'd like what it does, it cuts into sales, especially when the movie's not very good. When people, because there's just such thing as bad word of mouth.
Right.
People are seeing the movie, people are passing it around, not paying anything, and it's getting bad publicity. It's going to hurt the sales. It's absolutely going to. I mean, it's naive to think that it won't.
But that makes me want to say, why not give us a better product?
Give us a reason to go to the theater again.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like Interstellar and 70mm.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Like, give us a reason to go to the show again.
Irrespective of what you think of Chris Nolan and the plot, seeing it that way is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It is.
So that's a
Yeah.
good central focal point of actually going to the theater.
Yeah.
This
You
was
know.
one of the reasons that widescreen was invented in the 1950s. Television was luring people away from seeing movies in the theater, and the industry was going bankrupt. What do? We create widescreen. So the robe begins in 1:3 aspect ratio, expands to widescreen. Everyone's looking from their sides like, wow, this is panoramic.
Right.
So I think that's one of the reasons why they're coming up with so many gimmicks and why 3D's coming back again,
Yep.
you know, to lure people away from the Pirate Bay.
Yeah, there are certain experiences that you can only get in a theater, and I think it's becoming clear. I can't say this is true throughout the United States, but I know at least regionally, you go to the theater now and there are far fewer seats, but they're bigger, plusher, more comfortable,
Right.
got power recliners.
What are we going to do to bring you to
Yeah,
the
D-Box,
it's-
the D-Box
Yeah,
seat,
seats that move.
which
I
I've
mean,
never done, but I'm
yeah,
curious
it's-
about.
yeah, I'd never do it either. I mean, that's not a good idea for me. But the idea is that it has to be in some way differentiated because we do have massive digital screens at homes now.
Why go to the theater when you can just stay at home?
Yeah, and that's the whole point. Is that the future of theaters? Is that it has to be kind of an event?
Well, what I've heard from around the web, you know, filmmakers and stuff are saying is the future of movie going and movie watching. Is two things. It's streaming, of course, and then big event theaters.
Yep.
You know, stuff that makes going to the show like this awesome experience.
This
It's like-
tangible
it's like-
event.
Yeah, it's like going to a theme park. You know, it's not just like, oh, I'm just gonna go watch this movie and eat popcorn. It's gonna be like this really exciting, immersive
Experience.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like the 70mm. You know, like seeing it in a huge showroom like that with amazing audio. You know, that you cannot get at home. Like, what about the independent filmmakers?
Yeah.
You know, out there that are making films that they're really passionate about, and then people end up pirating them.
Well, a lot of I've played in bands forever, and like I've always told people, like, I would rather put my music out there for people to hear than to charge them for it.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what?
more about the appreciation of the art than it is making money off of it. And I understand these huge, you know, production places and, you know, big Hollywood studios and whatnot, they need to make money. But in the instance that you're a smaller filmmaker and you're doing it for the art and the quality of a product that you're putting out there for people to thoroughly enjoy,
Piracy hits them harder.
no.
No.
The piracy is great because people can actually
Right.
hear about, oh my God, that dude Cy Horrocks that made Third Contact. Okay? He's going to love that I talked about him. His movie's great. It's a really good, well thought out science fiction feature.
Yeah.
It's like similar to like Primer and Pi and stuff like
Yeah,
that. It's
sure.
really good, very moody, very thematic, just a great like noir, black and white sci-fi movie. Piracy probably helped him greatly because people heard about his movie.
I don't know why they waste their money seizing servers, you know, in Sweden.
Because it's not going to make a difference.
Right, exactly.
People will
Why
go
don't
to
you
another site.
Spend that energy and, you know, time and energy on actually creating really great alternatives for people to consume your product. You know, like Netflix. I love Netflix. I've been paying for Netflix for I don't know how many years. Like maybe since Netflix has come out, I've been paying $8 a month.
Yeah,
I don't
me
know
too.
how many,
Me too.
how much money they've made off me.
It's probably a lot.
You know what I mean? Like, come on, just give me options and I will pay you for these options.
We want to give you our money.